want to talk about the Boba Tea Protein drama. And this isn't drama. This is the founder of a company who is going and actively sabotaging a friend, coworker's business. We're getting into this. For some context to set this up, this is about the brand Boba Tea Protein. This is mainly, almost completely about the CEO, Neil Hong. Okay, not about the other athletes, not about the other employees. We'll get into the employee experiences later and stuff like that, but please, this is only about the CEO, okay? Boba Tea Protein, obviously, you can read the name, is a protein powder brand that really encapsulates milk tea flavors. They hype up real ingredients, zero sugar, grass-fed whey protein. They really popped up during the COVID phase where everybody was making everything under the sun boba related. I myself had a little boba brand at that point, happens. It's between Boba Tea Protein and this creator by the name of Lauren Pon.
I'm Lauren Pon, and I'm proud to announce that I'm officially sponsored by Boba Tea Protein.
So Lauren is a content creator who also used to be, or was, Boba Tea Protein's very first sponsored athlete. So they go way back. She has been there since the beginning. She gifted me some Boba Tea Protein. Basically, she was their very first advocate. Something changed because Lauren made this video, Leaving Boba Tea Protein, where she explains that, again, she used to be their very first athlete, that she liked working with Boba Tea Protein, but she has to step away, and that this isn't related to any of the other employees. She thanks everybody who supported her and for using her code to purchase Boba Tea Protein, and again states that she's great friends with many of the ex-employees. But the video kind of hinted that there was some undertone of something suspicious boiling, and that's where her other videos come in. And then Lauren posted this series, De-Influencing Boba Tea Protein, as their very first sponsored athlete, and it exposes a lot of bad practices within Boba Tea Protein. So in this first video, and again, I recommend you listen to all the videos yourself so you can hear the words straight out of Lauren's mouth, but her first issue is the lack of quality control within their products, specifically their Taro Boba Tea Protein powder. One of her complaints was that the flavor would change without any notice. They would change the formula and not tell their clientele. You can imagine if you're a customer of food product and they change the formulation without you knowing, and one day it just tastes wacky in the next batch you buy, that's not really cool. And she's not the only one who's had this issue. A lot of people have complained on Reddit, in her comment section elsewhere, about the inconsistency in their protein flavors. Now, Lauren posted this second video where she states that her main gripe and her main reason for leaving Boba Tea Protein is because of the CEO, who is named Neil Hong.
A company called Pon Pon Snacks, which is a protein biscuit stick, and that is going to be coming out in the next couple months.
Put a pin in this. Like what Lauren said, she is making her own brand called Pon Pon Snacks. She started developing this brand at least 2 years ago, if not 3. She had the idea in 2022, started developing it in 2023, posted a photo about it on her close friend story, March of 2023. So her snack brand is the biggest issue in this Boba Tea Protein fiasco.
Before I left the company, he did try to make me sign an NDA. I declined to sign the NDA, and some other things happened. Some legal things actually did happen.
This is very weird. Why would you make your athlete sign an NDA when they're trying to leave? It almost smells as if, hey, sign this NDA so you don't disclose any of the shady business practices we've been up to while you're gonna leave our company. A bit suspicious, a bit weird, not common for businesses to do this. And this is Lauren's third video where basically everything cracks open on this video.
A couple months into 2023, I had posted on my close friend's story that I was making this product out of my kitchen. Neil saw that story and he contacted my boyfriend to try to ask him.
So yeah, Neil contacted Lauren's boyfriend to try to join in on her snack brand Pon Pon Snacks. And he writes, I want to be involved in this so badly. I understand the financials of a profitable business. I have connections in supply chain and I know logistics. I know cash flow. I know negotiations. I know branding. I know marketing. Lauren, please. And he added 15 crying emojis afterwards. Look, Neil and her boyfriend sound like they're good friends. It just sounds a bit odd to ask the boyfriend to join in on the brand when it's Lauren's brand, Neil and Lauren at that point, right? Lauren was an athlete for the brand Neil has, Boba Tea Protein. Why couldn't he just ask Lauren directly? Why go through the boyfriend, right? This could be me and my little tinfoil hat theory, right? And you will see some examples of behavior like this later, but it, in a way, to me, smells a little bit misogynistic because you will see later that Neil likes to go through the boyfriend as a mediator instead of going directly to Lauren. You know what what I mean? Do you guys catch my drift? It just feels some type of way because why don't you just go to the founder, Lauren, directly to talk about stuff about the business? Why go through the man, right? Her boyfriend when it's Lauren's brand. Maybe they're just good friends. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but it just feels a bit weird.
If he could join. I didn't even think twice about this because I had looked up to Neil so much and I respected everything that he built. I couldn't think of anyone better to help me than someone that understood Asian flavors and understood the fitness markets. So we agreed that he would be a consultant for 10% of the company in exchange for a 10% capital contribution.
Take note of this. 10% of the company in exchange for 10% of capital contribution. Okay, so that was the deal. That was what was offered. Then Neil ended up getting really pushy and kept trying to add things into the contract to give himself more power.
First red flag in the operating agreement, which took an entire year of him just constantly doing that, trying to add more power to himself. My lawyer had pointed this out, that a little odd that he was trying to always push these things.
The lawyer literally says, I'm dropping Neil and Claire for purpose of this email. Note Claire. Claire is Neil's wife. They've been together for at least 10 years. Claire is the head of HR from what Glassdoors has said for Boba Tea Protein. So it looks like his partner was getting involved as well in this situation. But the lawyer is stating, are you fine with what they're proposing? I asked because you're the majority owner and sole manager, so you should have ultimate say over this language. Neil has been pushing this for a while, and I want to make sure it wouldn't be adverse to your company. Even the lawyer thinks that Neil's asks are a bit suspicious.
And he just didn't want anything to harm my company. And it wasn't until I started pushing back on this one clause that he really wanted, was that he wouldn't allow me to do any sort of collaborations with Asian-inspired brands
without his explicit approval. This is really weird. A lot of these screenshots are happening June 4th, 2024. Neil writes, and Neil is Bulk Panda, that is his Instagram handle. I will want this in the contract, and the subclause of it can be something along the lines of, quote, Pon Pon may work with those brands upon request and approval from Neil. End quote. What do you think you are? The agreement that Lauren was discussing was for you to be a consultant. A consultant does not act as the middleman for approvals for the CEO's brand decisions. Lauren responds, this sounds like you're the leader in this sense, LOL. Because yeah, a consultant is somebody, again, that you go to for advice, for, direction, but the consultant does not have the final say. The final say lands in the hands of the highest power, the CEO. Not Neil. And who is Neil? Neil is the CEO of Boba Tea Protein. But now he's trying to get in on Lauren's snack business she's starting.
Without his explicit approval. And I'm not talking about making Asian flavored protein powders that directly compete with him, but literally just making t-shirts or other potentially co-branded non-competing collabs. I tried to clarify what he meant, and he shifted the conversation to saying that all these collaborations would not benefit Pon Pon at all, but they would come to a lot of harm to his own brand. And that I would benefit the most from just collaborating with him.
So let's go read the screenshots. So Lauren says, if I wanted to do a collab, if it's not related to competing products like a boba product or supplement, what's your thoughts on that? Not saying I have any plans, but I need to know where you stand. Then Neil says, do you have a product in mind? An example may help, but without an example, I would stand with no. And Lauren says, could be clothes. Why does Neil's opinion no matter here? You are a consultant. At least you're supposed to be, right? And Lauren pushes back, writing, I don't see why I need approval if I have to make something like clothes. For sure, I don't want to do supplements. That I understand. Because again, Boba Tea Protein is a protein powder and supplement brand. And then Neil says, I think I know exactly where you're coming from, and I think we can make Pon Pon big without collaborating with brands and clothes. Being weirdly pushy about restricting her brand. You and Pon Pon will benefit a lot from Boba Tea Protein growing bigger and faster. It really sounds like, instead of trying to be a consultant for Pon Pon Snacks and helping Pon Pon Snacks grow, that Neil is just trying to kind of consume Pon Pon Snacks with Boba Tea Protein and use snacks to grow Boba Tea Protein.
And when I still didn't agree and tried to ask for more clarification, he responded by giving me threats. He threatened to pull out of the partnership, directly compete with me, and pull his marketing agency connection from working with my boyfriend's company. I figured he knew more than me. What the heck do I know? Even then, it still just didn't sit right with me, and I started to really feel like he was just really working with me to protect Boba Tea Protein rather than help me in Pon Pon.
These are the screenshots. Neil is again being weird, writing, there's one more risk. Boba Tea Protein has plans to dip more into Redacted. We're working on Redacted, and it was part of our product roadmap till I got involved with Pon Pon. And Lauren says, so you're holding this all over me. It sounds pretty threatening. And Neil says, I think it sounds threatening to you because Pon Pon isn't secure yet. Then here he says, anything that's possible elevates those brands, makes it harder for us to compete. Lauren says, this seems more defensive for Boba Tea Protein then. And Neil says, it is. And Lauren says, and it doesn't consider that it could elevate Pon Pon. And Neil says that's exactly it. So Neil is literally confirming that he is trying to protect Boba Tea Protein. His conflict of interest is like too big in the situation.
My goal of even making my own business was really just to, one, sell really cute snacks, and two, just have fun building stuff and making good friends along the way. Everything that he was asking of me was the complete opposite of it. And if this was what he wanted from the very beginning, it was never discussed, and I never would have said yes to him in the first place. Fast forward a couple months later, I offered him a proposal that I felt like was really fair.
So the proposal that she offered, which says that she will not work with a primarily Asian-focused brand whose core business is promoting and selling Asian-flavored protein powder and pre-workout supplements. For that to apply, the core business would have to have 60% or more of their revenue collectively earned from pre-workout and protein powders. And their annual revenue would have to be more than $500,000 to be competitive. Beyond that, she can work with whomever she wants because they're not direct competitors or active competitors.
Trying to find a middle ground that would make sense for both of us. He started to accuse me of having ulterior motives.
This is now in November 2024. Neil's like, can you answer who is advising you on these negotiations or if these are genuinely original thoughts? And Lauren says, it's my thoughts. And Neil says, I'm finding that difficult to believe. That's weird. What do you mean by this? Difficult to believe as in you didn't think that she could come up with a reasonable compromise? Again, that kind of smells a little misogynistic to me. Or difficult to believe because you feel like she's switching lanes all of a sudden? But that doesn't sound right because it seems like from the get-go, Lauren has been pushing back on Neil's spread of trying to push his influence.
And that some third party was advising me against him. Usually when I have a call with him, he tends to dominate the conversation. So I just felt more comfortable just talking to him through Discord. He then said that the proposal was completely unreasonable, countering that he would need 50% of the company due to the damage that it would do to Boba Tea Protein if I was allowed to make t-shirts with other brands. He had still contributed $0 to Pon Pon and only logged 23 hours of consulting over the last 1.5 years.
By the way, we're going to get into part 4 because it gets so bad. Neil had allegedly contacted one of Lauren's previous manufacturers to try to secretly get her recipe. Something that he should not have, nor does Lauren want him to have it. And how did Lauren find out? Because the manufacturer messed up and sent Lauren a message that was meant for Neil. December 5th, 2024, the manufacturer says, "Hey, Neil, thank you for your early reply. I've checked your product requirements and your company website. This year, an American customer contacted me and carried out the product research and development you requested. You could confirm the product ingredients and the test data in the attachment." And Lauren responds, being like, "Hey, did you mean to send this to Neil? Did he reach out to you for information about products that you and I were previously developing?" And the manufacturer confirms yes. So Lauren double checks, dots her I's and crosses her T's. Did you mean to forward me the message above to let me know he had contacted? Or was it by accident? And the manufacturer says, I sent it to you by accident. What? Talk about being shady. And then Lauren said, I would respectfully ask that you don't reveal the recipe ingredients or formula with him. And the manufacturer says, sorry, I've sent the email to Neil and provided the product test date. More than the date, because the manufacturer in the text also said ingredients. On a complete little 180 side tangent real quick, this is why be a little careful when you work with overseas manufacturers. This is in no way blaming Lauren at all, but this isn't the first time that it's happened where overseas manufacturers, when you manufacture things with those companies, some shady manufacturers will give out your information, will give out your recipes, and will literally allow other people to manufacture the exact same thing that is your IP and your sole copyrights, because sometimes those manufacturers don't care. They just want to profit. So not every manufacturer does that, but there are some who's done that. There's been cases of artists who go to manufacturers to manufacture products. Somebody else would go there and be like, oh, I saw you made so-and-so's keychains. Can you make me the exact same keychain? And they'll just make it. Not all the time, but it does happen.
Matters worse, I found out that he contacted the company that he didn't want me to collaborate with, and he wanted to invest in them, and he didn't tell me about it. Literally around the time that he added a clause that I could not work with other Asian-inspired brands.
Talk about being a snake.
I told him that I just didn't think that we would be good working together anymore. He interrupted me and he started to tell me how much I was disrespecting him, that I wasn't thinking straight, and that I needed my boyfriend to come on to the next call so that he could convince me of what he was saying. He began to also psychoanalyze.
This is again why I feel like misogyny plays a role in this situation. Because again, why is Neil asking Lauren's boyfriend to join in the call? Neil is supposed to be the consultant that is being hired on by Pon Pon Snacks, and Lauren is the CEO. Where does the boyfriend play into this? Part of me feels like, again, the reason why Neil treated Lauren specifically so badly is due to some misogyny. He's reading like a shitty person, and will reveal more information, and it just gets worse.
And talk about why he believes that I didn't want him in the company anymore, that I was just doing this because I have a huge chip on my shoulder and that I have something to prove.
You know, I think the most interesting thing that's happening that she mentioned is the psychoanalysis that she stated that Neil feels that Lauren has a chip on her shoulder and has something to prove. Is that some projection I'm smelling, Neil? I don't know, just thinking.
I had to just sit there and say anything as Neil just talked to Travis, trying to convince my boyfriend that his girlfriend was just very inexperienced and that he just had to listen to him. And he kept reiterating that this is just how business is, and I wouldn't only know that until I got as big as his brand was.
This is so weird. No, right, exactly. It is literally giving, I want to talk to the man of the house. Lauren's the CEO. This makes me so mad for her.
Later, we confronted him and told him we knew exactly what he had done and that he contacted my factory to try to make our product. And we proceeded to have our lawyers try to make a mutual release so that we could formally separate. So despite putting no money in and never finalizing the operating agreement, he was requesting for 66 grand for 20 hours of advisorship. 66 grand for doing almost like nothing.
That is wild. By the way, I did the math for y'all. 66 grand for 23 hours of work because Lauren said 23 in the previous video, so I'll use the higher number. That's $2,800 per hour. Just to put it in perspective.
66 grand in order for him to leave Pon Pon. Of course, did not agree. I still agreed that I would pay him out $10,000 in order for him to no longer be part of the company and we'd have a clean break. And despite him still trying to fight to be in Pon Pon and still asking me if he could still be part of it, right around Black Friday when we were still talking, he had made a domain called Sugoi Snack.
Look at that. It was created November 27, 2024.
From what I hear now, he is actually trying to launch this product. He has filed a LLC for Sugoi Snack.
The LLC was filed February 3rd, 2025. Look, and it says company context. Neil is the managing member of the LLC Sugoi Snacks LLC, located in Texas, which is where Neil resides, which is like public information.
LLC for Sugoi Snack. From everything that he has learned from Pon Pon in the year and a half that he was working with me, I mean, I'm just shocked. I wanted to see him succeed so badly for Boba Tea Protein. I became his first athlete. To have him do this and most likely launch before I do because he has more resources and people and time. And I know in business that you will always have competition, but I never expected it to be like this. Suddenly him contacting my factory and trying to put in our mutual release that I just couldn't say anything, and it all makes sense. And I've put so much of my heart and soul into this project.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I am biased because I know Lauren. We met at Anime Expo. We've also gotten food together. She gifted me Boba Tea Protein because she was such a huge advocate of Boba Tea Protein. This was like years ago. This was at least this was like a little over 2 years ago, I think. She gifted me Boba Tea Protein, gave me the boba balls. She gave me so much Boba Tea Protein stuff because she was like, yeah, like you kept talking about how much you really wanted to try it. I'm their athlete. I get free stuff. Don't worry. I'll hook you up. Da 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 da. She was such a big advocate for Boba Tea Protein. To then see them, and actually when we hung out, she was telling me about Pon Pon Snacks and how she was like cooking up ideas for it, and I was very excited for her. And to see somebody who was such a huge advocate for the brand, she was like essentially the face of the brand when they first started because she was promoting them so much and she was their first athlete. And for the CEO, Neil, to fuck her over like this so badly is disgusting. But it gets worse, guys. It gets worse because the rabbit hole does not end there. This is posted by Sarah Park or Sarah Seong, and the caption on the video reads, "Watching the fitness brand you previously contracted with finally get revealed for the garbage fire company that it is." And here's the problem. The problem is a lot of people actually ended up signing an NDA and they can't talk about their experience. Another commenter by the name of Kate says, same, I signed an NDA so I can't say much. Another commenter says, dated somebody who worked with Boba Tea Protein. I saw a lot of the inside activity and it's pretty much true. Glad to see it brought to light. The rabbit hole gets deeper because a lot of people have had awful experiences working for this company. This is Glassdoor, a website where you can leave anonymous reviews from working at companies. Now, we have taken into account the fact that it's anonymous, but out of 6 reviews, Boba Tea Protein is rated 1 star. Suspiciously, on July 18th, which is like roughly when Lauren was hinting about stuff, there is a brand new 5-star review. So this one reviewer says, emotionally draining and unsupportive workplace. They gave it 4 stars for some reason though, but they added that the work environment is highly toxic with constant turnovers, and they felt undervalued, manipulated, and that they were being gaslit and made to feel inadequate, and that there was a lack of genuine support, transparency, and basic respect that left them in therapy. This is another 4-star review that stating that it was overwhelming, that resources for campaigns could be really limited, that would leave things a bit rough for them. Now we get the 1-star reviews. So these were posted before Lauren's video, way before, months before. So could not have been influenced by her video, right? A lot of these one-star reviews are highlighting CEO issues. This one writing, CEO's approach to workplace boundaries sometimes created discomfort. He frequently organized social gatherings outside of work. Those who chose not to participate occasionally felt a shift in workplace dynamics. Constructive feedback was not always well received. Loud music would play in the office. The CEO would amplify stress. Personal and professional frustrations were openly projected onto the team. The CEO's spouse managed HR-related matters, which led to concerns about potential conflicts of interest in handling workplace issues. And they write, in my opinion, these issues, if left unaddressed, will lead to the demise of the company. Nuggets, welcome back. Another one-star review. Leadership makes bold claims about partnerships that rarely come to fruition. Employees find their input ignored. Another mention of the high turnover. And CEO rarely takes responsibility for turnover issues. Another one-star review, January 2025. Upper management and CEO were difficult to work with. CEO is extremely unprofessional, micromanaging, and extremely emotional in the office. A lot of mentions of the CEO being unprofessional. Also, the CEO is allegedly weird towards women. Again, this is on Reddit, so take this into account because Reddit is, again, an anonymous platform that you can make posts on. But when this many people say stuff, okay, it's a little bit suspicious. But this is posted in r/Asian American YouTube snark. And it's basically posting Lauren's video talking about how the, Boba Tea Protein is suspicious. And then if we go down here, a commenter writes, as somebody who runs in similar circles, I've heard so many people have bad experiences with the founder, so none of this surprises me. He's a creep and so weird with women. It's well known in the industry that a lot of people have really weird experiences with the owner and founder of Boba Tea Protein. And then somebody is speculating about the NDA. A commenter says, I had a few friends work there. He is genuinely a terrible person. And that same commenter says, I've met Neil IRL. He is terrible. And even worse IRL TBH. People in the Asian Dallas fitness community where he operates and lives know about him and how weird he is. Another commenter says, people in the industry know he's already burned a lot of bridges. He has a very bad reputation. I've heard so many awful stories from former employees. I tried lunar lifts though and love their flavor. So when people leave comments about people's character like this, I always try to take it in a grain of salt, because some people will leave comments about positive experiences. Some people will leave comments about negative experiences. In this case, with Neil specifically, normally when somebody's character is called to question, people who have good experiences with that person will come and defend them, being like, oh, I know Neil IRL, like he wouldn't do that, like he's a great person. I have not found like a single comment defending Neil. I'm gonna be so honest. Looking through all the Reddit threads, whatever, I haven't found a single I know Neil personally and he's a great person. Maybe I just didn't see it. I could have just completely missed it. That could be on me. I have not seen anybody yet though. I've gone through the deepest archives of Reddit so far to dig some stuff up. So this final one, there is a second situation with Neil and a previous company that Neil was involved with. This is Neil's Facebook page, and Neil posts January 12th, 2019. I can finally talk about this. After 6 months in development, I will be launching Level supplements exactly 1 week from today. And this is the Level supplement or Levels pre-workout. This was his brand prior to Boba Tea Protein. He had that brand and he started it in January and he closed it November of the same year.
However, Levels has faced its biggest challenge so far. As of about 6 days ago, on November 8th, I received a letter for a cease and desist order on a trademark infringement.
Yeah, you heard that right. They had to close their brand because Levels got a cease and desist because they have the same name as another brand. This brand is sold at Costco. It may not have been sold at Costco when Neil started his brand, but part of me is literally just a little bit flabbergasted now because how did you not do any market research at all to find out that there is literally a exact competitor brand that has the same name? You've been developing it for 6 months. Did you not Google Levels protein powder, Level supplement to see if there was any competitors? There could be a possibility where both brands started up at the same time, and then this one, the one that's sold at Costco, just got the trademark first, and then Neil's brand got boxed out. Could be possible. That's not the issue with this brand though. This is the issue. This was posted at r/powerlifting 6 years ago, titled My Experience with Tainted Pre-Workout and My Failed USAPL Drug Test Article. So the article is posted on the site called kabukistrength.com. The article is now dead, including all of the additional links, etc. Take this with a grain of salt because we don't have all the information needed to make a full conclusion due to the fact the article is gone. Kabuki Power, August 1st, 2019. There's a Facebook post about it kind of hinting for it. Again, again, the article is gone. It writes, it's an important read for any athlete. For those unaware, last March, Kabuki coach Darrington Wright was suspended from USAPL, so it's like USA Powerlifting, for 1 year after trace amounts of a banned substance, ostarine, was found in his blood after a post-competition drug test. And it turns out it was due to it being a tainted supplement. So with some information you can kind of like glean off the comments of this Reddit post, because again, we don't have the original article. Apparently, Darrington went to compete and he's been taking supplements. Now, it seems like in the powerlifting community, supplements are kind of like a hit or miss, because what the rules seem to be is that if you take a supplement and there's illegal substances in the supplement, you didn't ingest it, it was in the supplements, you are still held liable because you chose to take the supplements. So it's kind of like a hit or miss. Like it's kind of, people were saying it's your fault for taking the supplement, but like I feel like literally every lifter ever takes supplements. So yeah. But what they did for the test was they went to the company and requested a sealed supplement package. So not the one that the powerlifter Darrington took, but they went and they were like, hey, give a sealed one so that we could test to see if it's contaminated or not. And it ended up actually being contaminated. People in the comments were like, wait, who is the manufacturer of the supplement? And then they added an edit. A user pointed out it's in the lab report. It's Levels pre-workout. Then Sliding Wave adds, the name is right there, Levels pre-workout. This commenter says, here are the test results, which pull up nothing because the site is dead. But it writes, they were provided an open bottle of Levels Pineapple Mango pre-workout. Doesn't specify who provided the sample, but either way, it wasn't sealed. So it allegedly Levels paid for the testing. So there was this fiasco. Again, take this with a grain of salt because we don't have the original article. So we do kind of have like hearsay. Doesn't seem like the commenters would have any incentive to lie about the supplement brands because they're kind of like looking out for each other. Like, hey, just beware so you don't take the supplement brand and accidentally DQ yourself out of a tournament because it comes out looking like you've doped or something. Regardless, for a supplement brand, it's not great to have allegation of tainted pre-workout that you've provided. Take that with a grain of salt because it is all alleged, but that is a previous controversy that has floated around with Neil's previous company. Now, has Boba Tea Protein said anything about this? As I've snooped around, Boba Tea Protein has not posted any statements. Neil on his social media has also not posted any statements about the allegations that Lauren has levied against Neil and Boba Tea Protein. Lauren came with all the receipts though, so they've just been really quiet. That's all we've really seen. But at the end of the day, please show love to Lauren's company because again, it just is so frustrating because like what Lauren says, right? This is Lauren's company, Pon Pon Snacks. It's named after her, right? Branding is so cute. She's a content creator. Neil has a Boba Tea Protein brand that's successful and he has capital. He already took the domain Sugoi Snacks. He also made a Sugoi Snacks LLC and he tried to snipe her recipe as well. And her old manufacturer gave the recipe. So he has the resources and means to try to be a vindictive a-hole and levy and try to make a snack company quickly to directly compete against her. Literally all for what? Because his greed knows no bounds and his company is already successful, but he just wants to encroach more. Yeah, I want to try her snacks too. I love the idea of like healthy snacks that are really high in macros and stuff like that and protein. I'm a big snacker, so what are your thoughts on this Boba Tea Protein fiasco? Please show love to Lauren and Pon Pon Snacks because Lauren does not deserve this whatsoever. To have somebody you trusted so dearly go and try to encroach so much on your own idea, the brand that you were starting, and to be so weird to you in this way is just so violating and nobody deserves to be treated like this. If you like this video, I appreciate it. If you like and subscribe, don't forget to check me out on Etsy and VGen. I sell digital art there for streamers and creators. I also have a coffee with free resources for streamers. And I also stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST. So I hope to catch you guys there or in another video.